Evolving barbaric hieroglyphs, I spit my gifts, shift your surface with vernacular skill. The rawest live, touching down like meteors, none other than black gods. Stones in my timepiece coming from black stars. Negativity for keep far away from doors. Single-mindedly destroying the ops and the odds. Just another warrior's quest. The past may get rest. Demons coming for my crown, get beheaded like the next. These blessings never threats, just to verbalize a message, catching energies of critics. All the Atari get deaded. Pray I stay alert on the field, be skillmatic in anything my enemies deal. Be dead actions, I proceed just like I lead beneath it. So many seas to win. It's our time to align stars. So spirits lead. Who could war with me? Catastrophically or audibly, given no choice by God's law. I'm Lucifer on streets.
Peace and power. Once again, this is Panther 48. And today we're gonna do a very extremely special show. But let me introduce you to the 48 first. The 48 consists of me, myself, brother Psyche, calling out of Texas. We have brother Robert Wall Williams, calling out of California.
Help all the people.
And we have brother E calling out of Florida.
Yes, sir. Going last this time. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
So today we have some very special guests on because we want to deal with Panther history, Panther culture, so to speak, and Panther ideology. So we have Chairman Yanga Nkrumah calling out of Atlanta.
Absolutely, thank
Black
you.
Panther Party.
All power to oppress people.
We have the new Black Panther Party founder, Aaron Michaels, calling out of Texas.
What's going on, people? Peace.
And we have somewhere in the lurking in the darkness. Hopefully he'll come up soon. We have one of the day one original members of the new Black Panther Party who served right side to side with brother Aaron Michaels, David Foreman. So we're going to start like this. Right. Instead of me telling y'all who these brothers are, we're going to let these brothers tell you who they are and how they got involved in the struggle, starting with brother Yanga.
Okay, I'll be brief. My name is Yanga Nkrumah. I go by Yanga Nkrumah. My introduction to the struggle was just legacy. My father is the chairman was the chairman of the Louisville Black Panther Party for self-defense. He was framed for robbing the Kentucky Derby. Him and some other comrades, they became known as the Louisville Seven. So that's my introduction to Pantherism. My first real self-participation in, joining the formation of the Panther, I call it the Panther alumni, this beautiful party of Panthers. And by the way, man, it is an honor once again to sit on the panel with what we in our teachings are known to be the founder of the fourth development, bringing it in, brother Aaron Michaels. And I can't wait to have our brother David on there, man. It's a big honor, big respect. But my first participation of self, not it just being general, coming up in it, was under the new Black Panther Party, chairman at the time, Chairman Dr. Malik Zulu Shabazz. Later, we went through the rifts. I split. I left with Sister Muhammad. After Sister Muhammad, we saw what happened from that thing. This whole, I say it was one of the worst, best things, the split. I think we did it right, but it opened Pandora's box. So we see all of these things coming up. From that emerged another formation, which of course is mine, the Peoples Black Panther Party for self-determination. And I thought it was important to make certain distinctions. At the time when I saw this thing of self-defense, the party being over-militarized, a loss of political direction, political education being the source of all things of that, I said, okay, let's work on a political apparatus, party form. From since then, we have evolved to People's Education Committee. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm one of the directors of People Education Committee, which is, man, really like inspired by you guys and dedicated to the same mission, to maintain the continuity of the Panther, the integrity of that black cat, and, to make sure that the revisionists don't have this easy of a time to rewriting the history and rewriting themselves. They remind me of damn Stalin, rewriting themselves in places in history that they know damn well they weren't holding. So I think that that's one of our missions, just to maintain the integrity of our history as a party.
True indeed. Peace, brother, and thank you for that. Brother Wall,
Indeed.
it's on you.
All right. Well, I started with in Dallas, Texas. My introduction came in 1994, back when the Million Man March first got established. There was a group of bodies across the United States called the local organizing committees. Local organizing committee happened to have a meeting in the mosque in Dallas, and when I did that meeting, I saw these brothers dressed in black with the beret. I was like, "Whoa, is that the Black Panthers?" And it happened to be the minister of defense of the Dallas chapter of the New Black Panther Party, Keith Anderson there. And so the New Black Panther Party was, recruiting, as well as a lot of different other organizations. Basically, the local organization was a collective of various community activism and grassroots organizations coming together to get the average person involved in making things being more political active and better suited in the community. So at that point in time, I kept pushing and pushing until I finally got some feedback and got accepted into the New Black Panther Party in Dallas. It literally took me almost a year. And it was probably 6 months before I met Aaron, just going back through the recruitment process. And so I finally came aboard, and my first position was, I believe it was called Minister or Director of Internal Affairs. And then from that, I became chairman after Aaron Michaels decided to work with Khaled and bring Khaled in the national. And when they moved on to the national, Aaron left me in charge of the Dallas, as chairman of the Dallas chapter. And eventually from there, I went on to be the Southern Regional Representative of the New Black Panther Party. And at that point is when I started assisting with setting up chapters in the Southern region. And then ultimately ended up wanting to establish the Office of Research and Development from a national perspective. And the main goal of that is I kind of was building off of some things that I saw fall apart within the New Black Panther Party, especially after the Dallas chapter in the Southern region did not continue to keep its pull on the ideology of the party. So within the Office of Research and Development, my goal was to re-implement training to recruitment and training to chapters to try to keep that thing going, as well as provide resources, kind of like where we kind of going back full circle where we are with the Peoples Black Panther Party and what Yanga's doing with the People Education Committee. And from that standpoint, being a guidance across the nation for chapters in terms of having a centralized point of research, development, and training for the cadre. And then, like Yanga stated, there was a fallout, and from that fallout, I sided with brothers like Yanga in terms of just the ideology and knowing that they would be the caretakers of the legacy. And we moved on and became part of the People's Black Panther Party. And then ultimately, when I moved to San Diego, California, there was already a Panther chapter in operation under the Black Panther Party. And instead of rocking a different development, I decided to still keep my position within the People's Black Panther Party, locally represented as chairman here in San Diego under the Black Panther Party. That's my piece.
All right, appreciate you, brother. Brother Aaron, you on?
Okay, well, once again, peace to all the brothers and sisters who are going to be listening to this, and peace to you brothers who have come together to try to put together and make sense of the founding and where the New Black Panther Party should be going, or organizations like the New Black Panther Party should be headed into the near future. Once again, my name is Aaron Michaels. I am the founder of the New Black Panther Party. Stayed inside the organization from 1986 until, actually, believe it or not, January of 2001. And what was it, 9 months later, before September the 11th. I continue on today with doing the very same work that I started out in 1986. Doing community-based work, and I'm still been doing all of that type of work. Even now, I'm more politically involved, which is one of the very reasons that I think in some aspects of the New Black Panther Party, Yanga was right. The New Black Panther Party has fallen off in terms of their political direction and inclusiveness of the party ideology in and of itself within the community, and also that community-based services that we once had. We stopped doing a lot of that, or the organization stopped doing a lot of that. Personal involvement in the community, that means you as an individual involved in the very community that you are living in, whether it's dealing with negative elements in the community or positive elements in the community. Young people that go through the community who are doing good things, but continuing to watch all of those negative elements that still impact Black communities across this country, what we still consider to be Black communities, because those are constantly being overshadowed and watered down, even in that whole aspect right there. But even this whole prospect of armed struggle, I always say armed struggle when necessary. Not every aspect of the Black Panther Party was even about armed struggle, period. If you look at the whole situation in the 60s until now, it was never totally about armed struggle. But those brothers and sisters did that when necessary, when they were attacked. And I think that's the position that the Panthers need to always constantly rely on. And those are one of the things that I think is missing from that element of what we originally founded the new Black Panther Party on.
True indeed. True indeed. Appreciate you, brother. David, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, David.
Right.
Brother David.
My cousin, that's my pastor. Captain
Brother
David.
I don't know if you was there to hear the intro, but we need a quick, brief 5-minute bio from you.
Bio. Okay. Was born in Chi-Town. SHYTOWN. Not that CH prefix shit. I'm from Chi-Town. Meaning of shy being the people there are shy and you have to get up off your ass and get yours. So I don't know where these other folks came from. Moved to Dallas in '77, and where I got basically my social or political understanding was from my neighbor, Mr. Harris. I moved to Singing Hills. He informed me that Singing Hills, in terms of Black people, African people, had the highest voting percentage in all of the nation. So he said, if you live here, you must vote. At the time, they were voting at 97% of registered voters in that community. So that's where my commitment to doing social services came from. The Black Panther Party, my involvement with that started in Chicago. I used to be a member of the Street Tribe, Peace Stone Nation. Under Fred Hampton, we were drafted into the Black Panther Party. Of course, we all know that lasted all of about 4 months, and the brother was dead. So I knew then that there would never be another organization that I would join that didn't have the Panther in the title. That's basically pretty much it for me.
So how did you get introduced to or affiliated with the new Black Panther Party in Dallas?
Well, we started out on the picket line, and the police were always lining up trying to intimidate people. So the Black Panther Party, the new Black Panther Party, basically came about. We came up with the idea of dressing in black and not being a part of the protests anymore, but to stand there and intimidate the police that were trying to intimidate us. So we were known as the Brothers in Black. The Panther Party came about probably about a year and a half later.
All right. See, we have some real history on the panel today. All right, my next question, I'm gonna go to Yanga with this one. And the reason I'm asking Yanga this one because and if anybody has not subscribed to Yanga's channel, anybody watching, I think you should subscribe to the brother's channel. And definitely, if you into Panther history and understanding Panther ideology, check out the brother's breakdown. He done created a series called the Developments of the Panther Party. And I think anybody that's any kind of Panther historian or into Panther ideology should view those. But Brother Yanga, would you give us a brief breakdown of those developments? What's considered the core developments of the Panther Party?
Yes, sir. We consider we look at revolution that we know, we understand is science. we're saying we're applying historical materialism to them. So we understand the tangible and all the yada yada that goes with that. So we're saying as Panthers, we have a real history. We have an origin, we have an appearance, we have a substance and all of that. And we're saying that we first look at when it was indoctrinated, the emblem, a goal, a purpose, and all of that is what we say constitutes the development of a party. So we find that first happening in Lowndes with the Lowndes County Freedom Organization in 1965. That was headed up by Stokely Carmichael. Then we find, you know, they were largely reformists, radical reformists. They were intermingling with largely with the civil rights movement. So that was the order of the day. Their thing was to get an all black party, independent party, to take over where black people were politically, that is, to take where black people were the majority. Secondly, we find them evolving. We call these developments evolution too. So we find them evolving. Some of the cats moved up north, went up north. They began to intermingle with Black revolutionary nationalists. They started holding meetings. Like you said, you got to check out the tapes. They were holding meetings that were facilitated largely by Queen Mother Moore. And out of these meetings birthed this loose Congress, this loose group that began to form a structure. And they said, yo, we need to get a name. They said, let's take Black Panther Party. This is the second development. First, Lowndes County took it. They were a political party. They were partnering with Deacons of Defense. That was their military wing. Their emblem was the Black Cat, the Black Panther. They was known as the Black Panther Party. Second development, New York, same thing. They get in there intermingling, came with a group known as the New York Black Panther Party. They wanted independent political control. This time we find them incorporating a little more socialism, a little more community participation by pushing and advocating community control of the school through curriculum. Then we find them spreading this type of activity, radical reformism with community participation spreading. One of the places it spread, it was to the Bay Area, San Francisco. In this Bay Area with San Francisco, you know, they was affiliating with student unions and student movements. We find Huey in the scene and Bobby and everybody on the scene affiliating with the same group. So they come up with a Black Panther. You see it being more, and I'll go more into it, but you see it being more very people-oriented, very lumping, and we have to go into where the lumping, the people below the working class, the hustling, the street brother and sister, they were largely influenced by Frantz Fanon. We call this the third development, them getting away from radical reformism. We say, and as we learned, they introduced armed propaganda. We found out that it was agitatory propaganda. They were about pushing the extremes, and they did just that. They had the California state law pushed to where carrying guns openly was criminalized, forcing the people into very revolutionary stances. Either you're a concessionist and put your gun down, or shit, you're standing up and say, come get my guns. I'm gonna back up what I was saying. Put them into a very revolutionary movement. So we found that the third development, we know the repression that came with that. And we say from that repression, we don't say we would destroy, just put on the law, but from that depression, we rose like the Phoenix, and we rose with our dear brother there, Aaron Michael and David Foreman, bringing us into the fourth development and fourth formation, wave of the Black Panther. Right. I hope I kind of, right on.
Point. That was on point. I can't ask for anything more until I go to the channel and check it out. But that was on point. The third development is the one as the most famous, and as
everybody calls it the original.
Yeah, the original, the infamous. Brother War. Right. Brother War. Or anybody, I see Brother War ain't even listen to me. Or anybody give me a brief history of that third development of the Panther Party, the quote unquote original with Huey and Bobby? And I know all of us on here know this one. Where War at?
I'm right here. I just depends on where you want to start. I just give a little bit of mine, and this is with me being in California at the time, just like how it was brought up, the fact that in California, because of the route that they took with the weapons, you know, California still suffers today from the fact that the new Black Panther Party, the Black Panther Party took a role in that and addressing that more for that. But at the same time, what that ended up doing, in my opinion, is actually ended up helping the party, because the third development at that point in time started working more toward the roles in terms of bridging and working within the community to try to bring the Black community together.
Right.
So at that time is you also had segregation, obviously, but what they recognize is that, look, as a people within our community, we have to hold ourselves accountable for the conditions of our community, and we can't stop waiting. We can't keep waiting on the oppressor to make things better. We got to do for self. So through observation participation, the Black Panther Party set out to basically empower the community, regardless of the situation of white empowerment, regardless of the situation of the police and the government. So from that standpoint, they recognize that the bottom line is we need to educate our own community. We need to work toward building our own community, empowering our own community. Through that actually is what made the Black Panther Party public enemy number one. It had nothing to do with the weapons. It had everything to do with the fact that they were organizing the generation to basically take care of itself and work without the fact that, hey, the government. And so Black people at that point in time, now you're dealing with a situation where we are circulating dollars within our community. We are recognizing our power that we do have within our community, and we are becoming more powerful in terms of what we are as a people, which is, to me, where you get the concept of all power to the people, is because regardless of what you do for us, we're going to do for self. So now that moves into the concept of self-determination. So the community becomes more self-determined in regards to how it operates. So, and then that moving within certain aspects of the political legacy of Malcolm X, the Panther Party starts realizing that we do have the power and we need to make a move on that. And I'll let someone else add to that from that standpoint.
Will you also see the third tier, as Brother Yanga talks about, this third tier or the third evolving of the ideology of the Black Panther Party as being when they became the greatest threat to the internal security of the United States? You got an oppressed people within the colonialist system that we were living and still living in the United States, demanding their freedom by the end at the end of the gun, as we used to always say. Basically, America was being held hostage by Black people in communities that were screaming for their freedom. And that's when you start to see the rise of the FBI's counterintelligence operations, the same thing that they had done against individuals for decades. You start to see it rise among what they would consider, that was the Black Power movement in the 60s. That's when you start to see it really rise, although it had been around for at least 70 or 80 years before that. One of the things that I tell people this all the time, because I'm open and honest about the things that I do in the community, one of the things that I'm still working on right now, and this whole thing with COVID has kind of slowed me down from doing it. But a few years ago, I decided to go back to college to get my degree in counterintelligence, because it allowed me to get inside some of the volumes of material that were being kept on organizations such as the leftist movements in this country. But if you look at what happened on January 6th, you're now seeing all of that come back on America. Those same white supremacists that America had allowed to exist and try to destroy Black people has now come back to haunt the very folks who allowed it to occur. You're seeing the chickens come home to roost, as Malcolm would say when he talked about the death of John F. Kennedy. So long story short is that I think when you start to look at this whole theory, this whole third raising of the ideology of the Black Panther Party in the 60s with the Black Power movement, you start to see them really use this counterintelligence program that was brought home from the jungles of Vietnam and brought home from the Korean War. You start to see that co-meld itself among trying to destroy the Black Power movement in this country. And not only did they go after, of course, we all know, not only did they go after the Black Power movement, which was the tip of the spear of watching poor and oppressed people in this country start to take their freedom back, but you start to see it raise its ugly head inside the American Indian movement, the AIM movement, and you start to see it raise itself among the Mexican and Puerto Rican movements in America, as well as the civil rights struggle, who had at the same time. So all of that was going on all at the same time as you look at this third tier, or the third growing of the ideology of the Black Panther Party from the 1960s Black Power movement.
It's it's ironic when I'm looking at the panel, and I see that everybody here had their foundation in the new Black Panther Party at some point or a time, and everybody, I'm talking about Huey P. Newton Gun Club, whoever we interviewed, all said that they started with the new Black Panther Party. So we see, as Yanga keeps saying, the evolution of these developments. We see that the new they thought they had destroyed the Panther by destroying that third tier in the 60s. And then it came back to life with the new Black Panther Party in the 80s. And I think that Aaron and David are best qualified to speak on this. Can y'all give us a little history of the new Black Panther Party, why y'all started with, in David's bio, he gave us a little bit, and in the previous video we did with you, Aaron, you gave us some, but give us a little, a little general breakdown of why new Black Panther Party, why did it start, and why y'all felt the need to put that together.
Well,
this thing y'all started on this protest march or whatever y'all was at on the protest line, that theme has basically spread nationwide again.
Right. No, you're exactly right.
And two, I'd like to know what you intended it to be. I'm no disrespect, because I know we want to go through the history, very important. Sure, but what you intended it to be? What was the ideological aim, goal? What was the objective, the mission? Because coming up in Cleveland under Chairman Carr, we're taught to study it a different way. I've seen films on war giving classes, you guys doing counter surveillance classes on counter surveillance to take down of the drug houses. So we've seen the action that you guys, we were forced to study you guys as a development. So what were, like, with the history, your intentions?
I would say that my intentions were what the third tier of the Black Panther Party, as you call it, Brother Yanga, the third tier of the Black Panther Party ideology was to what it should have evolved into. We saw this, what we would call this demise of the Black Panther Party of the 1960s Black Power movement. Those brothers and sisters that were involved in that movement were either murdered, killed, with this internecine rivalry that we saw happening all over the country through the counterintelligence operation of the FBI. We saw killings, we saw murders, we saw imprisonment, we saw exile. One of those four things happened to members of the Black Panther Party, no matter how you looked at it, from the 1960s through the 1970s. And when Huey took over the organization in the early 70s, and Bobby had left the organization, Huey being totally in charge of the organization around the country and nationally, and still looked up to internationally, people started shifting in a different direction in terms of not even allowing Black Panther chapters to even exist anymore. So people started creating what it was called the National Committee to Combat Fascism. Those were Panther chapters with Panther ideology, but whites were allowed to join that type of formation. Because you got to remember, it was always considered to be a black movement, so that there weren't actual white members, although white people gave money to the Black Panther Party. Black Panther Party was one of the first organizations in the country to get over $1 million in funding from, and white people were the ones who were giving the money. So that in and of itself is huge. I mean, we see, and I'm not trying to give this other organization a whole lot of credit for it, because I know what's behind it too. But long story short is the BLM movement, Black Lives Matter movement. They're probably one of the probably more successful, financially successful organizations in the country. Let me just leave it like that. I'm not necessarily saying that they are great in terms of their ideology or their political movement or their movement in general, but they are probably one of the best financially supported organizations in the country that's claiming to be a black organization. So the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense in the late 60s and 70s, they started getting money from all these different groups. So in that, not only that, movie stars, recording artists, I mean, you name it, especially if they were white, they had money, these folks were giving money to the Black Panther Party for self-defense. I mean, you would be surprised at the folks who gave money. And then those same folks were targeted by the United States government for neutralization. And neutralization can mean any of the 4 things that I talked about: exile, murder, killing, you name it, that was being done. And it was being and pushed by our own federal government. But long story short is that my ultimate goal when I created the new Black Panther Party was to continue on where the Black Panther Party for self-defense ended, and bringing that into the 80s. You know, you're talking about the age of vocalness in the young people's movement, the hip hop movement. So we tied into a lot of those types of things. And one of the things that really pushed the new Black Panther Party into being the organization it was that I was the producer for a nightly talk show called Talk Back with Dallas County Commissioner John Wiley Price. That really pushed and helped the new Black Panther Party to grow, because anything that we needed to relay to the people was given out over the airwaves on our nightly program. And that's how people really started to get a real deeper introduction into the organization, and were allowed to come and join the organization was through that show called Talk Back Liberation Radio. That's where they first got their introduction to the organization. And like Brother David said, we didn't start off as the new Black Panther Party. I think for about a year, we were called the Brothers in Black. That's how we would let folks, even though we were following a path of the Black Panther Party and the ideology, we wouldn't let people call us anything other than that during that time, because we were out in the community. We were doing a lot of work. We actually started off going down into these on the picket line, and then going down into this neighborhood with this elder sister whose grandson was selling crack cocaine out of her house, and she was basically as my man would say on the movie, you can either be a willing participant or a live-in hostage. And that's what my man would say in the movie New Jack City. Nino Brown said you can either be a willing participant in the crack cocaine industry, or you can become a live-in hostage. And so that's what we saw. This sister became a live-in hostage in her own home that she had opened up to her grandson, who was living with her. He started selling crack cocaine out of her house. She didn't know what to do. So we got word through the community that that's what was going on. So we basically went down there and pulled that boy up out of his house until we're gonna whip his ass. And he had 2 choices. Let's just call it like it is. You got 2 choices. You can leave willingly, or we can put your ass in a body bag. Period. Let's just call it like it is. You know, let's not hide the fact that those are some of the things that we were willing to do. We were basically, the people that were with us at that time were willing to die for what they believed in. And I really appreciate that, because that allowed brothers like myself and Brother David and other folks, you know, people knew that when they came up in the new Black Panther Party in the early years, we wasn't out there bullshitting and playing games, because we wasn't looking for fame and glory. I see a lot of the folks today looking for this fame and glory bullshit, but it ain't none in there. If you a real revolutionary, there's no real fame in doing any of this type of work. You know, it's a grudging work, and that's why you got all these rock and roll stars that have now come into the organization, you know, trying to be some goddamn body, trying to be, you know, and I'm not against, I truly believe that we got to tell our own story. Don't get me wrong. I think we have to write books that tell the truth about the new Black Panther Party. I think we got to tell our own story, make sure that everybody understands that truth it may be ugly and you might not like it, but hell, it is the truth. And I think we have to continue to do that as we move forward. I think all of you brothers here on this platform right now are already there. You're not doing it for the fame and the glory. You're doing it because, hey, this is the truth. This is where we need to be headed. If we're going to continue to use the name, and we stepping over brothers and sisters who went to prison and who died for this. And I think that's the thing that's missing. We stepping over the blood of brothers and sisters who went to prison. Geronimo Pratt went to prison for almost 30 years. And when G first got out of prison, he would sit and talk to me about the stuff that happened to him when he went to prison, and how, you know, and so we gotta remember those things, because those are the things that helped us move forward. Talk to people like Dhoruba bin Wahad. I mean, these, you know, Dhoruba and several other people are the only ones left in this struggle. I've talked to people like Kathleen Cleaver and that whole piece. There are some people, a lot of folks on the international level who are still living when they had chapters all over the world, you know, in different parts of the world, man. They had Panther chapters. And so those brothers and sisters are a great comfort to understand that I did not stray as an individual from what they put down on paper as well as what they live for. And I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of when I work with all of you brothers that are here today. You guys stayed on the path. I made sure that people stayed on the path. It was never about, I told somebody if I really wanted to make some money on this, man, I'd be a millionaire right now. I'd be a millionaire right now if that was if that was my goal, but it hasn't been. And I think that's where we need to be headed in terms of being able to understand what I was trying to do, what we were headed. And I think all of us are level-headed enough and to understand that if we continue on with the movement of this caliber, that every chapter that we create, and it doesn't matter what the name of it is, but what does matter is if you are following that basic core belief of the Black Panther Party, then we stay on that path and we participate. You may not participate on a political level that others do, but you're still going to participate on some tier politically. And you're going to participate in community involved projects. And you're going to try to raise the consciousness of Black people as a whole about not only Africa or places around the world, the diaspora where Black people live, but you're going to raise the consciousness of Black people, young Black folks here in this country about what Black folks did in this country as well.
Mm-hmm.
David to jump. David.
Hold on, I was muted. I got another question. This is gonna be for David, if he's still there, because Brother Aaron just eloquently broke down what the purpose of the new Black Panther Party was. We have a lot of factions now. Mm-hmm. There have come a lot of different factions, different names. Some don't even use the name Panther anymore. They use Gun Club, but we know the origin. We know where these things come from.
You know who you are.
Yeah, David, in your opinion, what is your, or if you've been keeping up with it, because I know you out of the country, do you have an opinion on many of these various factions? Good thing, bad thing? Do you see growth? What's your opinion on it?
I see people that want to be leaders going nowhere. That's the short. I can't make it no plainer than that. You've always had people within the party who wanted the title, didn't want to do the work, just wanted the title. When they couldn't get the title within the party, they left the party so that they could get the title elsewhere. So all of these things are offshoots of people wanting to be recognized as an individual. They don't understand that the Panther Party is a party, a group of people. It's not an individual. They're looking for fame and fortune, or whatever else they can get. Maybe they're gonna write a book and sell barbecue sauce. I don't know. I don't know what the hell going on.
Oh man, Aaron, what do you think about the factions, the various factions?
I think I feel good knowing that brothers that are here on this platform, whether young or older, if they're continuing to try to evolve the organization, Brother Yanga, people like him, Brother Warlock, I think that makes me feel comfortable in knowing that I can rest at ease knowing that they are in front of this movement. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and I'll tell people this, and I have no barbs about saying it. Some of the motherfuckers that I've seen trying to run this organization over the last 20 years are just a goddamn disappointment. I mean, it's like shit. What the hell is going on? Some of these people are fucking nuts, man. And it's like all they care about is a goddamn gun. That's worse than, whose dick is the biggest. Whose goddamn gun is the biggest? I got more guns than you. I've seen shit on the internet, And it's like, one thing I said I would never do is get on the internet and just lambaster brothers and sisters. It's like some of these motherfuckers are just out of their fucking minds, and we gotta call that shit out. I mean, because they ain't no better than fucking racist white people to me. They ain't no better than them. Shit, this motherfuckers that went up inside the goddamn January 6th thing on 2021, them motherfuckers ran up in there and none of them fuckers even vote. They up in there talking about Trump won the motherfucker. Not 90% of the people that they polled, and you know, the government asked them, they know what they fucking shit look like. You know, and because I've been working, trying to get my, you know, trying to finish my degree in counterintelligence, I've been able to look at some of these people's backgrounds. You know, I've been able to look at their backgrounds. I've been able to follow some of this shit. 90% of the people that ran up in there on January 6th don't even fucking vote. So my point is this: you can't keep asking for freedom from your enemy, and your motherfucking ass getting a goddamn welfare check every month. Did I say that? I'm sorry. Shit, fuck it. You cannot expect freedom from the very enemy that you claim that you don't like if you're not doing nothing to get to freedom. Now I get it. We all gotta work. We all gotta work for somebody. We all gotta, even if you own your own business, you're still working for somebody in order to make your money, in order so that you can continue to be free. But shit, the problem with that is that most people haven't figured out that they still on the plantation. You know, one thing I've worked in radio. I worked in radio and the film industry and the music industry for 40 years. You know, I worked at the #1 radio station in Dallas, Texas for 28 of those years. And I've met a whole lot of folks along the way. One thing them motherfuckers couldn't make me do is sell out. Hell, I picketed the very person that I worked for. Man was worth $300 and some million. And I still realize that every morning I get up, I got to look myself in that damn mirror. And if I didn't see a black man looking back with some nuts, then it was somebody else living in my body. And I think we gotta, at some point in time, that's what we gotta start thinking about. I mean, these different factions and these different, you know, it's like shit. If you ain't following the basic ideology of the Black Panther Party, you wrong. Period. You doing the wrong thing. You moving in the wrong direction. And so I think we got to say that as we move forward.
May I jump in for a moment? Because I think one of the things too is what we blew was the opportunity to present. Right. I'm one that I always talk about a revolutionary type. I think that creating the institutions that breed to help us elevate to this revolutionary type. The Black Panther Party, like when we talk about here, let me go back. I think the factions are just like the chicken pox, man. I think they just breakouts. I think it's like everybody really just trying to, you know, find their niche and groove. It's our failure to really understand, in my opinion, of course, Black nationalism to the degree of tolerance and acceptance, the principled unity, mind you, principled unity and working together. What we had in the Black Panther, in the new Black Panther Party, is when we had an opportunity to have a microcosm of a macrocosm, am I saying it correctly? When we had the opportunity to have a small example of liberation, what a people's democracy looks like, what a political apparatus and a defense apparatus looks like, we didn't take advantage of it. Sensationalism became the order of the day. You know, Rahimahullah Ta'ala, bless Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, but I think that and he was a champion spokesman for Black nationalism, but I think that the rhetoric outweighed the political education. And when that happened, it brought in an element. And when it brought in a certain element, a nation, especially here on the East, I don't know what was happening over there in the Southwest or whatever, but here on the East and down what we call the South, we won't get in that debate. But in Atlanta, we were seeing a big influx of Nation of Islamist type of flavor, right? So so you had that coming in, and it left us not addressing very real things in the community. To fast forward a little bit and to be brief, when we had the thing with Sister Muhammad, and to break what I'd love to clear, because I believe a lot of factions came from that. But what I will stand on 10 toes down is everything being done properly. The letter of disconsent being drafted largely by dear brother Fahim, RBG Ali, brilliant. That Crystal never didn't come with the first intentions. I tell people, Crystal's my girl, little known secret. We was about to duke it out. One knows I was about to shut the convention down, but it needed to be had, and it was only addressing the lack of democratic centralism. We were saying that the militaryism is spilling into the political mechanism, and those of us that don't fall in military rank shouldn't be told who our leaders is. Hashim should take that position until the term is over. You know, if Malik is advocating, Hashim should have taken that position till the term is over, and then we elected official. And I'm gonna end it with this. Why I say it was brilliant, because what we were doing was president. You know what I'm saying? We were setting presidents. And so I stick on it. And this is why I teach the history, because even though a lot of bullshit came from it, I hope that when we speak of the fourth development, when we speak of that thing, that we will study it like we study the split in the third development between New York and the West Coast. So these are very real learning experiences that we're going through now. And I'm sure that Huey, Angela, and all of them never would have thought in that time that they will be being studied. You know what I'm saying? They were just doing what needed to be done.
I'm just hold on, Psyche. Damn it.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna mix it up a little bit, and well, at least for me, this is gonna be a little fun game. So, Yanga, you're younger than War, correct? No?
Don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, well, as far as I'm concerned, you're younger than War. So for intents and purpose of this activity, you the kid, and Aaron is going to be the supreme elder for this conversation. But having heard sort of how what Aaron's mindset was when he set out to put this thing together, and where he wanted it to go, what he's seen, where it's gone, and all of these, the history that he's brought to it and all, and having heard Yanga kind of reflect on some of the things that he saw, where it is, where the things that we messed up and all of that sort of stuff, I would like for y'all to kind of change roles. In other words, Yanga, if you step back in time and could be Aaron in 1988, 1989, what would your mindset be going in to attempt to develop something along these lines? And at the same time, once you're done, Aaron, if you could jump in and take on the role of Yanga, who's someone who's still out with the boots on the ground, got an active chapter going on, looking back at the history, what would you do in his position to make the party or the chapter more fruitful? So Yanga, go ahead. You 1988.
1988. Am I going into it with what I know now? Have I time warped? I'm just going fresh off of.
You're just going back. Whatever you know.
Okay. I think what I would do in resurrecting it, I understand that I would have taken that strong stance in the community. I probably would have went hardcore like that. And however, in conjunction with, I'd have had a political program that is hands-on, meaning that I would have developed, to the best of my ability, institutions or programs that address some of the needs, whether it was some type of rehab, if I'm going after the crack house, some type of rehab, some type of refurbishing for homes that have been demolished, used as drug dens, things like this, things that really, especially knowing that crack era, things that really would have tried to the best of our ability inoculate us from the ravishing effects of crack. Just make us, I'd have tried the continuance of what the third development did, make us self-sufficient. I saw what they were doing as a step in self-sufficiency. So I'd have done that, and kudos, I'd have taken the strong defense of, the strong stance in defense. Especially if I had the community support. If the community knew what I was doing while we were there with the guns, while we were whooping brothers' asses up, and it was really community sponsored, like the mother came and got you, you need to take Billy behind the shed, then we take Billy behind the shed. With that understanding, just constantly remembering that it was people powered, and man, okay, no disrespect, Aaron, you my guy, but I probably, okay, I probably would have taken a little staunch more stance against, man, y'all get me in trouble, man. Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad leaving a spokesman position to a largely political position, which is the chairman. I think I would have probably, I would have fought a little hard. I don't know the behind the scenes, but I would have tried my best not to let that happen. Great spokesman. But as far as taking a political route and what we know a chairman must done, no disrespect to you colleagues, what a chairman was done, I probably would have fought a little harder against that move.
Well, I think it's safe to say that ain't nobody on the panel tonight, especially with hindsight, thrilled about that particular development.
Yeah.
That wasn't our star point, but it was what it was.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
right,
now Aaron, we know each other, bro.
Bro.
Know each other,
I gotta move to the future, baby.
We didn't have some off the cuff, not safe for YouTube conversations on some of the road trips. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I'm gonna tell you, stick to the script. Okay. You are now Yanga in what year is this? 2022. You were tasked with your chapter, developing it right here, right now, knowing what you knew from everything that's happened up to this point.
And you have all these different factions and gun clubs running around as well. So you got all of this that Yanga has. What would you do?
I got you.
Go ahead, E. I didn't want to throw that out, so you keep that in mind.
Now y'all got to remember the way I think now, I thought back then, even in the 80s. I mean, so my brain developed. I might have lost some information. You know what I'm saying? In terms of intellect, I might be a little, as people say, he might be a little dumber now than he used to be. So let me just do it that way. My intellect and understanding of community and community-based things is still the same. Nothing's changed about that from that time to now. If I were starting a chapter today, I would first go and find those, me as an individual, I would go and find those who originally kind of started some of this stuff. That's the way I think. I did back then. I went and found people that started that movement and started talking to those folks, which is probably one of the reasons why I think a lot of those folks embraced me as I move forward, whether they supported the organization, especially after college joined it. A lot of the old schoolers from the 60s and 70s didn't embrace the organization anymore. But long story short, I would move to find folks who were still alive, still in the community doing community-based work, because that's the only way you know if a person's serious or not. If they still out here doing community and community-based work, whether it's be 10 years, 20 years, that type of mindset only dies when the person leaves this earth. When people are still continuously moving and doing the same work that they did 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. If that person is still doing that same work, those are the people you get information from. And you incorporate what you already have learned into what you want to become and how you want to create your chapter. That's how you should do it. If I was in Yanga's position, and I think he's already actually moving in that direction. He's kept a good, strong relationship with Robert and probably some others. I mean, who were involved in that. And I think he actually said that his dad was a member of the St. Louis.
No, Louisville, close.
Kentucky.
Very correct.
Chapter of the Black Panther, one of the original Black Panther chapters. And so he had a good foundation to at least try to understand. So I would have been taking information from my dad if my dad had been involved in that whole movement. But I would have taken his information as firsthand knowledge because he was there. And then I would have went around the country and found other people who were still alive, who were involved in that. And then I would start in the middle ground. I would go to the beginning, of what I'm doing, and then follow all the way back to the end and then start in the middle and start talking to people about, you got a chapter now, what are y'all doing? And then say, hey, you know, brothers, sisters, y'all are not following the path of what this Black Panther movement is supposed to be about. And that's what I would do if I was a young person following a movement. I've never joined a movement outside of the new Black Panther Party, and there's a reason for that.